Everybody wants to be, but nobody wants to do. Girl, it's time to be real, raw, and relentless. Everybody wants to be, but nobody wants to do. You know it's time.
Recrown you.
Today's episode is sponsored by Respect the No. It is a lifestyle brand geared against sexual assault. We know them, we are them, and we stand with them. For an exclusive 10% off your entire order, use code RESPECTME. Visit www.trulyinspiredlifestyle.com. Enjoy the show. What's up, guys? It's your girl, Truly Inspired Martin, and welcome to another episode of Recrown You, baby, the podcast. You guys are in for a treat this week, okay? You guys know that Recrown You is for the women who are ready to be real, raw, and relentless in their pursuit to unleash their inner badass. So what does that mean for you? That means that you're ready to take a journey that you don't even know that you're about to take, right? You're saying that I'm afraid, I don't know what is going to come of me. I don't know what layers I'm going to peel back. I don't know what I'm going to hear or what might seep into my spirit, but I know that I'm ready and I know that I need this. And listen, this week is going to shift some shit for you. And I say that in the most humble way as possible. And the reason why I'm saying it like this and the reason why I'm bringing this forth is because I need you to understand that this week is all about the men. You heard me right, ladies. It's all about the men's, okay? We are bringing forth the issues that our men are dealing with. Talking about mental health this month, right? It's Mental Health Awareness Month. And one thing that I think that we forget to talk about when we're on our girl power trip, right, is the men and the roles that they play in our lives and just how important the things that they go through can affect us as well and vice versa. So I could not negate the fact that men, I'm sorry, ladies, men are just the pillar of the relationship. They are the pillar of the household. Okay, we are, hashtag girl power, hashtag confident, hashtag independent. I get it, right? Even within the marriages and the relationships and X, Y, and Z. I get it. But let's not even front. You want a man, you with a man, you with somebody, right? You in a relationship. Let's put it like that. Or you want a relationship somewhere down the line. So why not deal with the issues that we don't talk about, right? So today's episode is going to be so good. And this segment I titled, They Need Us Too, right? So They Need Us Too is a segment highlighting men and their struggles with mental health in different areas of their lives to help us women understand them just a little bit better, okay? So I'm going to start off with this stat so we can get on with where we are going with this. You ready? Let's get to it. So, studies have shown that people who suffer from mental illness have a higher rate of divorce. One study that was conducted in 2011 actually put that divorce rate increased at between 20 to 80%. So you're like, Dana, why are you telling me this? I'm telling you this because if we don't deal with it, it will deal with us. And the reason why a lot of us are divorced, it's not just about the money. It's not just about falling out of love. It's that we're not dealing with our issues. We're stronger together when we keep it 100 with each other. And I know me personally as a woman, I don't be wanting to spill all my tea to my man. I don't need him to think that I'm not strong. And can you only imagine how men feel? Like they're not trying to show that vulnerability. They're not trying to show you that, you know what, babe, I ain't got it together. I'm having these thoughts. I'm going through this thing, right? And that is the reason why there's that wedge between us and we're not talking about it because we deal with these things in silence. And it's time to take that to another level and open our mouths and talk about it. So that's what we're doing today, and I hope you guys are excited because the mans this week are bringing the heat. And I'm saying the heat because it's the stuff that's hot off the press that's going to put something in your spirit to say, you know what, let me go talk to my boo. Let me go talk to my husband. Let's talk about this stuff because I don't want to be a part of this statistic. And that's what we got here. I got somebody here today that is not a part of the statistic. They are living proof that things can happen, things do happen, but you can get through it, right? So I got Eric Simpson in the building today, and today's episode is Broken and Expecting. So let me tell you a little bit about Eric real quick, right? Besides the fact that I went to college with Eric, I low-key feel like I know Eric from Jersey because I used to hang out at Arts High all the time. My best friend went to Arts. I feel like I know him, but we technically met in college, right? But he's from Jersey, so shout out to Jersey, okay? Y'all getting a lot of shout outs lately because that's my home, all right? But Eric is from Jersey. He's a graduate of Clark Atlanta University. Shout out to CAU. He is a crisis counselor. He's a husband. He's a father. He's a minister of music. He's a student. He's a producer and a public speaker. And today we're getting into marriage, expecting, and overcoming, honey. So without further ado, today's topic, broken and expecting. Eric, what's good?
Oh my goodness. Good morning. How are you, man?
Hey, what is Goodington?
Man, listening to you speak has me so excited. I'm listening to the episode and the stats, and I'm just so excited to talk about what we're going to talk about. I'm filled right now, so I'm
Yes.
I'm ready.
Fill me up, Lord. Fill me up. So here we go. Let's get into it. So tell us the story. Let's get into it.
So just a little backdrop is talking about what I plan to talk about is me and my wife. The title is Broken and Expecting. Just to break that down and what that looks like. We were pregnant and expecting, and while we were expecting a child, we were broken as hell. And listening to what you talked about, it made us realize how off our pillars were for each other. Pregnancy made us realize that although we were each other's pillars, we had a lot of work to do to make sure and maintain that we can upbring and maintain our marriage. So leading up to that, listening to the statistic that you said is that divorce increases and the people are divorcing at a higher rate. We were almost that. We were almost there. Keeping it just jumping in right now. When
Yep.
we were having a baby, we were like, all right, we gonna do this together or not? We were both at that same point. Like, I can do it okay without you. And we both agreed on that, and it was real. It got bad. Um, so while we are in that space, we were expecting a baby. My wife got extremely sick. She had hyperemesis, which is
Ooh.
basically all day morning sickness. And it was morning sickness that lasted for several months from July to August, September, October, and it got better around the end of November. So you can just imagine people talk about doom pregnancies. This was one of those. She had to wear a Zofran pump to get enough supply for her and a baby. She was put
Oh.
on bed rest. She was taken out of work. So then we were relying on one income at that time. It was a lot, and this was just expecting the baby. It wasn't, all of the drama and turmoil that comes afterwards. This is all before the baby even got here. And then when the baby got here, the tables were turned.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh. He just left a cliffhanger on us, y'all. Talking about the tables was turned. What? Ooh. Hold on. All right. So that right there, that was a loaded, right?
Hmm.
Because a lot of us look at that, and I like how you kept it real off rip, right? Like we
Yes.
we were about to be done. Like this,
Yes.
we were done with each other. Okay, like this situation was just too much for us.
Hmm.
And oh my God, I know she went through hell. I don't even have no kids yet, but I know people that have gone through that, and
Mm.
that is no joke.
None.
So, whew, praise God for her, and I know that was hell for you.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and imagine that right there. So that's already one of those pressures, right? The
Hmm.
money,
Yep.
finances.
Hmm.
That's always one of the biggest issues with divorce. But inside of that, what was your thought process looking like? Like, what did that look like for you in that moment?
So it kind of opened up a new reality for me. Because when you have a baby, um, you're thinking, what can I do to be ready to be a dad? What can I do to provide? What can I do to put myself in a position to be as manly as possible, to be the man of the household, to hold down my family? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And the first thing that came on my way was this big challenge with my wife getting sick. And so all of that looked so totally different for me. It looked like, oh, my baby's gonna be happy during her pregnancy. She's gonna get fed. She's gonna waddle. I'm gonna be there. Nah, instead she got sick. Life was like, here you go. Here's probably one of the toughest battles you're gonna face right now. Your wife is gonna get sick, and so in my mind, I'm mind blown because it's like this is a totally different challenge that I'm anticipating, and now I got to figure out how the hell I'm gonna deal with this.
Yeah.
How are we gonna survive on one income? Because money was a challenge before, so money wasn't gonna be the hurdle that took us out the second time around. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
But it was how do we make everything manage with the same set of circumstances? And so I'm in provider mode. I'm trying to make this happen. I'm trying to hustle so I can get part-time jobs so my wife can, so we can have enough money for everything. I'm trying to figure out how to save so that once the baby gets here, we got daycare money. All in the midst of just planning different things like traveling for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Being proactive with these holidays that coming up,
Right.
planning for baby showers, trying my best not to drop the freaking ball. But all at the same time, I'm still caring and concerned for my wife. And so seeing her every day in a bed, not being able to do much, having to make every meal for her, having to make sure her legs are elevated, that was a lot of pressure on me. And it felt like the one thing that I wanted to do the most was the thing that I couldn't do at all. So for me, it felt like I was a big old failure because, yeah, while it felt like I was good and doing everything on the outside, I couldn't do anything to make my wife feel any better. And
Mm.
that hurt the most more than anything. And yeah, I get it was a medical condition, but at the same time, being in that provider mode, you want everything to be okay. You want everything to change. And so for 4 months, everything is not okay. Everything is
Right.
not changing. And so on the outside in, it just looks like, damn, what the hell can I do to make my wife feel better? And I'm just struggling with that, with that idea of what I consider being a man. But I feel like, and I don't want to move too far, but I felt like God was showing me how to be the best man in a situation that it required me to be. And so what I thought was the best man and what God was preparing me to be for were two different things. And so I felt like it was a pledging of sorts to become what He envisioned me to be.
Ooh, he just dropped a gem on y'all. Oh
Mm.
my god. Yo. Oh my god. Listen. God was prepared. Who did you think you were supposed to be versus who he prepared you to be?
That's the question.
Listen, that is a whole word right there. Somebody needs to go write that down. Hope y'all taking notes by now. Listen. Oh my god. And that right there that's the overall picture. Like people think like a lot of people just want to jump in and go get married, right?
Mm,
People think,
mm,
oh, I want the dream, honey. I need to go get married. I need to do this and do that. And not to say that marriage is not an amazing and pleasurable thing, but we
mhm,
don't talk about the back end of that. Like what
mm,
really makes the foundation of a marriage and what do you have to go through to keep that thing strong,
mm,
especially when you're dealing with certain things. So to me, it sounded like you might have been dealing with depression.
mm. Most definitely. And that was, depression was something that I suffered with before, just to open up people into my mental health life. In 2014, that was probably my most difficult year of life, and I seriously considered suicide.
Mm.
I vividly remember the day. It was a December day. I had lost my job. I got kicked out of school, and I was going to celebrate by going to a Giants game. Got pulled over, got ticketed, couldn't even get the car because the rental was in a different name. I mean, I felt like everything was just terrible that day. I literally planned on jumping in front of the next 18 wheeler. So from jumping and experiencing that to coming back to this and feeling like resembling feelings of failure, that depression had definitely seeped in. It crept in and it stayed for a while.
Oh my God. See, that right there, we don't even look at it like you were going through all this pressure at one time and you were probably not even trying to put all that on your wife. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-mm.
All those thoughts he was going through. I know a lot of men that even hide the fact that they've been laid off or anything for weeks sometimes. Like
Mm-hmm.
they'll just keep going outside and act like they're going to work every day because they are the man, right? They don't
Mm-mm.
want to put that pressure on their woman. And here you are going through depression and suicide ideations and stress
Mm-mm.
and anxiety. Like that's a whole lot of different feelings and emotions, and I'm pretty sure you were going through some anger and other things, right?
Oh yeah, I was definitely going through some anger. So anger kind of came a little later. Anger came after the baby.
Mm.
Surprisingly. Um, oof. So I love my son. My son is a junior, Eric Devine Anthony Simpson Jr. I love him to the moon, back into the furthest galaxy. Okay, there is no doubt for how much I love my son. But
Absolutely.
when I tell you it took some time to get here, people would be surprised. My son is one and some change. His birthday is February, and it took me a while to get to this place. And my wife talk about this frequently. I told her straight up when we had EJ, I wasn't even ready. Like, look, boo, I didn't even know what I was asking for because I was the one that really wanted kids from the jump. She was
Ah,
like, oh no, I want to hold off on kids. You know what I'm saying, boo? I want to be this, I want to be that, and I understood that completely, and it happened in the right time. But when he came, I wasn't mentally ready. I wasn't physically ready. I wasn't ready. I wasn't financially ready. I wasn't emotionally ready. I wasn't psychologically ready. Um, but some of the anger had come because I felt like during the entire pregnancy phase, as the pillar, and as the person that I am, I love being the center of attention. I felt like I had to take that step back in so many different ways. Because again, my wife's sick, so she's gonna be the one everybody cares about. Everybody's gonna be asking about how's the mom doing, and as the baby's growing in her stomach, everyone's gonna be asking how the baby's doing. And as we were going through the delivery and the laboring, everything was so mom centric, and I love that it was mom centric. I love that mom's got attention. But as I walked in there, and as thinking about a dad, all I was just dad. I never really got any personal attention, like, dad gets this special attention or dad gets anything. And then when a baby came, it was just a reinforcement of that. Everybody cared about how's mom after the baby and how's dad, but nobody looked at all of the work that the dad was putting in behind the scenes and really asking how's dad. And so when everybody asked me that question, I wasn't hating on my wife because I was making sure she was taken care of, but
right.
I was worried about who the hell is worried about me and all that I'm doing behind the scenes. And I never felt that for a while. And so I never resented my son for it at all. But of course, logically, it could be the easiest scapegoat. Like, okay, after the baby came, that's when things got rough for me and nobody seemed to care about me. And so for a while, it just felt like dad or husband wasn't getting shit. All it was about mom and baby. And it's totally fine, but it left me in a space where I had to really figure out what the hell was going on. And that's where a lot of anger had come from because I was wondering who's worried about me while I'm doing all this caring, who's taking care of me and I'm suffering in silence. Listening to the words that you mentioned, that was me. I was that stigma for a while. I was suffering in silence. I was angry. I was resentful. I was bitter as hell. But it took me a while to overcome all of that to really appreciate that my wife and the baby needed it more than I did at the time.
So when did you realize that what you were going through was so serious? The anxiety, the depression, the stress, and I think you even told me that you had some paranoia.
That was more so just talking about what my wife's struggles were. So,
Right.
a lot of these things are a result of what we experience, but I never really even talked about some of the things that she experienced. Like, so, postpartum depression is a real thing, and my wife
Yes.
experienced some of that. She experienced some of those symptoms of fatigue and paranoia. We'd be sleeping or we'd be in the bed, and the baby would move, and she's thinking that the baby jumped out of the bed, that type thing,
Mm.
or no one's in the room, or she feels or hears something and she's jumping out of her sleep because she's worried and scared. Having to be there to care for her and nurture her through those things was some things that she experienced. Um, Sometimes she had an extreme lack of interest in certain things that she really loves. Ladies, y'all love chocolate. And if I told you my wife hated chocolate at some point after her pregnancy, you would think she's crazy, right? Well, that was a symptom of her postpartum depression. Depression in itself, one of the symptoms of is you lose interest in things that you love, and that
Yeah.
was one of the things that she experienced. Um, and so, going through all of these things, at the time, I wasn't really mindful of it. But if I told everybody that I'm a mental health student, my background is in social work, you'd be surprised that I wasn't able to pick up on these things. But life happens, and so after a while, while I'm in school and just experiencing different things and talking to my wife about it, and even talking to other people, and I'll put a pin right there. Talking to other people helped normalize what we experienced, and then that's when we realized that we had an issue that we needed to address for ourselves, because other people were able to identify that it was an issue for them and how they overcame it inspired us to consider it an issue for us and how we can overcome it. And so I think that was the biggest piece. Just being aware that it was normal, being aware that it was a problem, and then addressing it.
Ooh wee, and I think that comes with starting the conversation, right?
Mm,
Like
exactly.
realizing that you're not in your own little bubble. Like
Hmm.
things are going on outside of you. Like the person
Hmm.
sitting next to you on the subway, the person at work across from you. Like you
Yep.
never know what people are fighting in silence.
Sis, exactly. And what resonated with us is that it had to start at home before it can be anywhere else. So that started with us talking to each other about the shit that we were going through. Us opening up and being vulnerable and being ready to be exposed to some hurt, just so that we can move. And so I love stories, I love analogies, and I love animals. And it might, some people might catch it, some people might not catch it. But if you look at a box turtle, um, certain species of turtles can only move if they are in a vulnerable position. They have to have their heads out of their shells and their toes and legs out of their shells.
Mm.
And if they're not, they're going to move and put their bodies inside the shell for safety so that they don't get attacked by an animal. And one of the analogies that I told my wife is similarly to the box turtle. If we are in our shells, we can't move. But if we put ourselves in a position of vulnerability, we can move. And so, one of the things that we talked about is being and putting ourselves in a position of vulnerability so that we can move. And that was something that we really honed in on because I love images. It helped explain what I wanted to see for us. And so it took a time for us to really open up, to open up our arms. So we got so used to sheltering and caring for ourselves that we forgot what it was like to actually open up to the other person. And so when we took the time to be that turtle, to be vulnerable, that's when things started to happen, because she's like, oh, I didn't know that you were going through that. Or I'd be like, oh, I didn't know that you felt the same way too. And it opened our eyes to what their intent was when they were doing something. And so the communication helped us really see that we weren't in this alone, but we created that space for ourselves.
Ooh. First of all, that analogy was golden. So somebody better push rewind and listen to that again. That stage, that part of your life, that vulnerability when you actually come out of who you are and
Mm,
see what's going on around you. One, you're not alone. Two, you learn your real lessons when you're not afraid to step out. Ooh.
mm, mm.
Jesus. You better stop playing with me up here, minister of music.
I will get on the keyboard if you need me
About,
to,
about,
Basha.
about to say it's Pastor Simpson. Pastor. So how do you deal, how did you guys deal, like, with both of you guys going through mental health issues at the same time? Was there some kind of coping mechanism or?
Several. I use unhealthy coping mechanisms initially, like drinking, smoking,
Right.
um, excessive video game play. But after a while, I realized that those weren't really working, and so I had to figure out how to use those in moderation. And so, therapy, ain't no way around it. Therapy is a really great resource. My wife goes to therapy religiously. We make sure that there's no plans on her therapeutic night because they mean that much to her. Therapy for me, I went to therapy before we had pregnancy, before we had the baby. I'm sorry.
Hey.
But I could just reference the times that I did meet with my therapist. So, and as a counselor, I would encourage anyone to go find a therapist. Friendly plug right there. Um,
Hey.
those were one of the things that we use. Music is a big thing. I'm a minister of music. I listen to music. I play music all the time. It really helps keep my space clear.
Yep.
Um, what else do we do? Aromatherapy. I love different scents: lavender, mint, eucalyptus, candles, you name it. I love it. Um, and just being intentional. So one of the things that I use with myself is that I realized I looked at my weeks and I looked at my days and I would consider how many good days did I have in a week and how many bad days did I have in a week. And so initially I would have way more weeks. I would have at least 3 weeks out of the whole month, out of the entire year where I was just terrible. And so I was like, no, I'm sick of living like this. And so I was just intentional about making sure I had good days. And so retrospectively looking back, what that looks like was just waking up and securing the day. And so one things I wanted to do was, they got this quote that started securing the bag. I'm in my bag. Well, the way you have to get there is you have to first secure the day. And so I had to be intentional about having a good day. And so it meant waking up, showering, not being depressed and not showering. Because I'm not saying that that was an issue, but there were some days where I would skip showers, just keeping it 1,000.
Yeah.
Make sure I do something healthy, have a breakfast, just make sure that my mindset is in the right place to have a good day. And if I'm feeling like I'm having a bad day, I have to address those emotions there or tell myself to table them to come back to them at a later point. So it's being mindful of not letting things boil over, not letting today run into my tomorrow, not letting yesterday's troubles keep me worried today, and just being intentional. And it was also a perspective and a mindset thing. So my mindset recently, and it has been, but it's become so much stronger, is that there is good in just about any and everything. Even in your shit, I promise you there's something good. And
Yeah.
so I was reminded of that. And just making sure that I don't do anything to make my shit any worse. I'm not stirring it to make it smell any worse, but I'm making sure that I can endure it through anything. And so I think that's the biggest thing, has been a perspective change more so than anything.
Lord Jesus, he over here dropping bomb after bomb after bomb. Listen, I don't know if you know how many gems you just dropped. I'm over here taking notes, honey.
I have no idea.
I might have to steal some of this and use these in my presentations because
Have them.
it's that hot. But here's a question for you. What is one key lesson that you could extract here from this whole debacle that you went through? One key lesson.
You know, as you were speaking, I shed a couple of tears listening to you talk, because for the first time in a long time, it felt like the sentiments of a man had been accurately depicted. That we're there and that we're present and that we're active. But if there was something I could drop, it was your mate is gonna have to know how broken you are in order to know where to put the pieces of tape.
Dear God. Oh my God. I'm going to have to bring you back sometime, somewhere, Jesus. Listen, this is a whole thing right here. Say that again for the people
Mm.
all the way in the back. Oh my God. That.
Your mate is gonna have to know how broken you are in order to know where to put the pieces of tape.
That was it right there. Eric. Jesus.
Mm.
And
But mm.
I appreciate every word that you have said. And thank you for acknowledging me just being me. Like this is how my mind works. I want to know where you guys are. I want to know what you guys struggle with because we think we know, but we
Mm.
have no idea. And we hold you guys to a certain esteem because that's how society told us to. They told us that you guys are supposed to be at this level. They told us that this is how a man is supposed to act, be. Like, he can't cry. He can't do this. He can't go through things. And that, to me, is bullshit. And I'm so glad that you laid it all on the table today. So, here's a question for you. What's some advice that you would give to a married couple or someone that is about to get married dealing with something similar?
Talk.
Talk.
That's it. Talk.
Talk
Talk.
about it.
Talk about it. Talk. Everybody does it. All animals do it too. Communication. That is at the root of just about everything in life. Recently, my wife and I discovered that sometimes we have to say things. So let me get it right. Let me make sure I get it right. You have to get better at explaining yourself. No, 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 that's not it.
I'm about to say
If the
either way it
person
sounded good, so go ahead.
if the person doesn't understand what you're saying, you have to keep on explaining until they get it. And
Mm,
sometimes that might require creativity. And so talking about it. It might be redundant, but keep talking about it. Find a new way to say it. Find a different analogy. Find some way that that person can connect to it. But inversely, I would challenge the other couple or the person that if you aren't the one that understands, that you should have the same vigilance to find understanding. And so, if your partner can't explain it to you, you should be just as interested in understanding what it is that they're saying. So, talk about it. And if they don't understand it, keep on explaining. And if you don't understand it, you should look for understanding.
Mm, mm. Pastor Eric. Pastor Eric. Listen, that oh my God, this is just filling me up so much. You have no idea. The transparency, the words, the gems, the everything. Like, we putting it on the table. We are saying that men go through shit too. Yes, we go through it, but imagine what happens if we start these conversations and if we just keep it 100. Like, I'm not, like, I have to, tell my boyfriend honestly, like, I really be dealing with some anxiety bad. Like, and it got worse after 30. Like, I swear, I turned 30 and then the next day, like the very next day, it was like, boo, boo, boo. I'm like, yo, what is going on right now? But you know what? It also has to do with so many different factors, things that happened in the past, things that you thought that you dealt with and you probably didn't deal with it the whole way, or it might have resurfaced in a different way. Or it could also be those things, like, I know with me at 30, as soon as I turned 30, I was like, damn, I was supposed to do X, Y, and Z. I was supposed to have this by now, do this by now. Like, I had a whole plan for my life by 30, and I look up, and ain't none of that shit really happened, right? Like I maybe accomplished like 5 out of the 50 things. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm just like, okay, so what are we gonna do now? But I think that's what happens when you just don't face it, you don't deal with it. And when your partner doesn't know, that person is half of you. No matter how we try to look at it, you guys are cohabitating, you guys are married, you guys are dating. Communication is the key to the kingdom of love. And I think that is so important. And I just absolutely just love and appreciate you, my brother, for coming here and sharing the deepest parts of you. And that took a lot. And I want to tell you right here on Recrown You that, my brother, you matter. You are important. We value our brothers and we value what you have said today. And I know not only the women that are listening to this today, but the men that are going to come and listen to this episode is going to be like, whew, somebody spoke up for us. Somebody said something, because we matter and y'all need us too. Straight up. So before we let you go, I gotta let the people know how they can get in touch with you. You got any new projects coming up? Anything you want the people to know about? Like, what do you do so people can get in contact with you?
Oh, I do a little bit of everything.
We know.
If anyone wants to get in contact with me, right?
I'm about to say, you from Jersey, so
Bruh,
the
we
hustle's in
got
your
to,
bag.
sis. It's in the blood. Um, I'm working on a couple of things and I'm just waiting on them to be birthed. Anytime anyone asks me to do anything, I'm just putting my name down. I'm throwing my name in a hat so that I can be seen. I'm on Facebook, Eric Anthony. You can email me, eric.simpson89@gmail.com. I'm a singer, pianist, worship leader, minister of music, preacher, public speaker, whatever your needs are, I can be there. Um, I'm a grad student. I'm about to be a black therapist in a couple of years.
Come on,
I'm working
black.
on a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? We need us, and we need us. When we go in a room, we want to see someone that looks like us to be able to bear our hearts to. So, shameless plug to all our black therapists out there. Um,
Yes.
I'm right now. I'm just kind of throwing my hat in the ring, and so I'm freelancing with all of the different ventures that I have right now, trying to find my way to my bag.
Hey, Le bag is waiting.
Ibasha.
And I'm sure that somebody's gonna connect with you because, listen, you already know we got some things to work on. So,
Amen. Yes, sis.
it is what it is. But ladies, listen, I hope that you guys took something from today. And I know there's some fellas that's probably listening too, so I don't want to, neglect y'all. But this episode was for the men. to help us women to unpack their gifts, to unpack what they've gone through, to be the person they need us to be as well. It goes both ways, right? We have to open up the conversation. We have to be willing to say, you know what, I'm not okay. I want to take this journey with you, but we got to keep this thing 100. And I think that's what it comes down to. Us knowing that the men need us just like we need them. So ladies, I hope you took something from today. I hope you took some notes, and I hope it really just seeped into your mind to go start that conversation. Do it. Shoot, I might have a conversation I need to go have, because it is important and it is healthy to have these conversations. So I cannot wait for you guys to really get your hands, your hearts, your minds wrapped around these next episodes. But never forget, they need us too. It's your girl, Truly Inspired Martin, baby. Let's get it. You know it's time.